Welcome back to Annie Recapped. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we will cover Psychic Detective Yakumo. Let's begin. A man stands in a crowd, thinking of the true essence of human souls and holds a red amulet up to his face. A pink-haired girl walks in on Yakumo Sato as he wins a round of cards and his opponents dejectedly exit the room. She tells him she's heard of his supernatural powers and his ability to interact with ghosts. She introduces herself as Haruka Ozawa, a sophomore in the literature department, but he is disinterested in irrelevant details about her beyond her name. She tells him the reason for her visit and narrates the events that had occurred at her senior's going-away party of previous week. It took place at the old school building that is off-limits when they decided to have a test of courage. The 6 of them were inside the abandoned building when they encountered spirits. One of her friends, Miki, appears to be possessed by a spirit and is still in the hospital, and another, Kazuhiko, commits suicide. In desperation, she turns to Yakumo, a lazy and careless college student who confirms her friend was possessed by a spirit. Yakumo was born with one red eye through which he can communicate with the dead, and he agrees to solve Haruka's mystery for a fee. Haruka remains skeptical until Yakumo conveys a message to her from her dead twin sister, Ayaka. They head to the hospital and Yakumo talks to the spirits of the girls inhabiting Miki's body. He discovers that the hauntings are a result of a serial killer who murdered them. Meanwhile, another one of Haruka's friends, Yuchi, has committed suicide. Yakumo and Haruka decide to investigate the old school building, and Yakumo discovers a track in the mud and some belongings in a pit. This minute evidence causes him to believe it is the teacher, Mr. Takaoka, who had murdered those girls and made Haruka's friend's death look like suicide. Yakumo still feels like he needs concrete proof, so he asks his detective friend to run some prints for him. While waiting for the results, the murderer kidnaps Haruka. Yakumo rushes to rescue her and confronts Mr. Takaoka, who flees and sets fire to the building to cover up his crimes. Yakumo and Haruka are stuck in the burning building, while his detective friend has apprehended and arrested Mr. Takaoka. Yakumo asks Haruka why she went to the old building, and she finally admits it was because she hoped she would encounter the spirit of her dead twin sister. She reminisces about how her sister was skilled at piano and the light of everyone's eyes. She wanted to be mean to her out of jealousy since everyone loved her, but she died in a tragic accident. Haruka feels guilty and is sure her sister still hates her. Yakumo reassures her, telling her it was Ayaka who had warned him about Haruka being in trouble, so she still cares for her. He uses his powers to somehow help her see Ayaka one last time, where they finally say goodbye. They are able to escape the fire and return to safety. A man with 2 red eyes and a woman threaten a guy to obey him in order to have his daughter reborn, and he concludes the true essence of human souls is darkness. Laborers are hard at work late at night cleaning the temple as Chairman Irie is supposed to visit the next morning. They are discussing ghosts when suddenly the lights go out. The next day, Haruka discovers Yakumo lies in the Film Appreciation Society room at Meisei University, and they make their way to the hospital to check on Miki. Yakumo informs the spirits inhabiting Miki's body that the man responsible for their deaths has been arrested, and they leave. Miki feels better immediately, and Haruka is grateful to Yakumo. He later explains that spirits are not something to be feared, as they used to be normal humans like them, and he refuses to use forceful methods like exorcism against them. He also justifies the fees he claims for his help, as his powers are authentic, and he is not like those who scam others for their greed. Haruka has already joined a job to be able to afford Yakumo's detective fees, but he refuses to accept money from her as Miki's father had already paid him. She was going to resign from her job at the restaurant when Chairman Irie arrives, and she stays to serve him. He receives a call and she overhears him saying "Curse of the Fox." His assistant Kunamatsu explains to her that this town has 2 Inari shrines, one to the east, Kamatsuka Inari, and one to the west, Kabitsuka Inari. Chairman Irie has acquired the land to the east and has drawn plans to move that Inari to the west too, so he has vacant land to build on. However, rumors have sprung up that it is the curse of a fox spirit protecting the shrine and delaying preliminary construction. Later that night, Haruka is at the shrine and sees the spirit of a woman in a mask and a man with a red eye. The man introduces himself as Yakumo's uncle, and she inquires about the spirit she has just seen. The man, Mr. Ishin, reveals it is only a red contact lens, and Yakumo rarely comes home to the temple where their family resides. Just then, Yakumo appears asking his uncle to borrow a book, and Haruka meets his little cousin Nao, who has impaired hearing. Mr. Ishin advises Haruka to ask Yakumo about the Tamatsuga Inari incident and says he will not be able to pass up an interesting story like that. Haruka sees Chairman Eri reaching for the same placard that she saw where she encountered the ghost of a woman in a lovely kimono and a fox mask at the shrine. He seems to recognize the description and is about to tell her who the ghost she has seen might be when the lights shatter and Yakumo protects Haruka. He deduces all the supernatural activity is just fake mechanisms and speakers and is suspicious of Mr. Irie. The ghost turns out to be Kunamatsu, as he does not approve of the chairman's construction plans and has created a fake curse. He calls the chairman by his name, Tekshin, and tells him to stop his plans. He recalls how Tekshin and his lover Kuniko had planned to elope, but it failed since both of them ended up at the two different shrines in the east and west due to a misunderstanding. Yakumo helps him see Kuniko once more, and he apologizes to her. The man looks for bodies of potential candidates for his daughter's reincarnation. A car is speeding through a tunnel when it is attacked by ghosts. Yakumo's friend, Detective Goto, works at the detective bureau and comes looking for him when a colleague of his shows him a picture of what appears to be a ghost. He finds Haruka there waiting for him too, and he tells her he has known Sato since he was a kid. Yakumo arrives and Haruka tells him she needs his help once more. She was late returning from work, so she had missed the last bus, but the manager, Tatsuya Nakahara, drove her to the station. He took a shortcut that would lead them through the tunnel with the ghosts, and she wants Yakumo to assure no bad spirits have possessed her or Tatsuya. He declares her free of evil spirits and says he must meet Tatsuya in person to declare him safe. Goto shows him the image of the ghost boy at the auto repair plant. Goto says the plant is run by Toru Hayami, who also runs an underground operation. Hayami was to be arrested but managed to escape. Goto wants Yakumo to speak the schoolboy's spirit to see what he can find. They reach the plant and Yakumo makes Goto dig the earth to see if they can find the boy's body. They find it and forensic tests reveal the boy has been strangled to death after being involved in an automobile accident. Just then his colleague, Hijikata, informs him that Hayami has been arrested. Haruka brings Tatsuya to Yakumo so he can declare him free of ghosts as well, and Yakumo grows suspicious of him as he was shaken when he saw the photo of the boy. He shares his suspicions with Goto, who informs him of Hayami's voluntary confession, and they finally realize Tatsuya is behind it all. 2 months ago, not only did he run the boy over with his car and ask Hayami to repair it, but he also killed the victim, who was still alive, to hide his crimes. Haruka and Tatsuya have already left by the time he returns, and she sees the ghost of the little boy in the car with them. Tatsuya is unable to move or control his actions as his car is headed towards the tunnel. Yakumo and Goto chase after them, and he tries to reason with the little boy's spirit, who remains unfazed. As they approach the tunnel, Goto deliberately hits Tatsuya's car, with his and both cars skidded to a stop inside the tunnel. Yakumo tries to save the boy's spirit from the evil ones in the tunnel, but gives up and is unable to help him. Yakumo requests his uncle to pray for the spirits trapped in the tunnel to help them move on. The man tries to resurrect his daughter Ayaka, but fails, and the dead body of a girl is recovered from a lake, and the mysterious people plan another attempt. Hijikata, the police chief's daughter, is driving late at night when she sees a man lying on the road. She tries to call an ambulance, but the man seems to be possessed by spirits and she is attacked. Another body, similar to the previous one, is discovered from the lake, so they deduce a serial killer might be responsible. Moreover, a girl, Rumi Hashimoto, has gone missing. Detective Goto has been assigned to the Cold Cases Department with Officer Yutaro Ishii on account of several violations of the rules. He is enjoying a nap when he receives a call from the chief concerning Hijikata. Haruka is approached by a girl who claims to have seen a ghost, and she decides to talk to Yakumo about it. She enters his room and finds him looking at a red amulet that he says belongs to his mother. Haruka has officially signed up as a member of the Film Appreciation Society and claims she has an equal right to use the room. He asks her what trouble she's arrived with, and Goto enters the room. His subordinate Ishii follows, and Yakumo jokes about him, putting in a transfer request immediately. Haruka slips out and goes to meet the girl to get better understanding of what she had witnessed, and Yakumo goes with Goto. Goto explains to him that 5 days ago they received news that some people had collapsed by the side of the road, and one of them was Makoto Hijikata, the reporter for the Hokuto newspaper company, as she was investigating the serial murder kidnapping. She was just unconscious, while the other man, Takashi Ando, had died due to cardiac arrest from a massive drug dose. Ando was a doctor who had been arrested for inventing and using an illegal drug. Hijikata's family claims she was possessed by a spirit, thus Yakumo's involvement. Ishii wonders as to why Goto would share confidential police information with a mere university student. Haruka is walking along the riverside where she sees Ayaka's grave, the girl whose father keeps trying to bring back to life. She stops to pay her respects as she has the same name as her twin when she sees the ghost of a girl in the water who tells her to stop it. Haruka is clueless as to what the spirit wants. Yakumo and Goto arrive at the chief's residence, and Yakumo sees the doctor's spirit possessing Hijikata's body. He fears Ando is trying to take over her body in order to live. They go through his file and belongings and find a book along with 2 keys. Inside the book, Yakumo discovers a picture of a girl, and Ishii says it is Ayaka. They split up and Yakumo and Goto try to find out more about the girl and one of the keys. They go visit a doctor who asks Yakumo about his mother Azusa Sato, and he says he has not seen her since the day she tried to kill him. He asks the doctor his mother's reaction when he was born, and he confesses she was extremely frightened to see his red eye to the extent that she lost control. Haruka wakes up in this hospital and overhears the entire conversation. Later that evening, Yakumo attempts to throw his mother's amulet in the lake, but Haruka stops him from doing something so sad and gives her the necklace for safekeeping. Mayuko, the girl who approached Haruka, was walking home from the Viola room when she too had come across Ayaka's grave. She had seen a ghost in the water, and Haruka is sure it is the same spirit as the one she has come across. Yakumo asks her how she had ended up in the hospital in the first place, and she admits she fell into the river, but someone helped her. Gono advises her to leave the ghost investigations to Yakumo, but she refuses, saying she does not just want to use him for his powers. Yakumo examines Ayaka's gravestone. They return to Dr. Kinoshita and explain the entire situation to him in hopes of gathering more information regarding Ando. He says Ando was his junior and they kept in touch long after graduation, as he was a very compassionate man who had taken care of him and his daughter Ayaka when his wife passed away. Yakumo figures out he is the man who has been trying to resurrect her and tells him her spirit begs him to stop. Ishi discovers the key unlocks a locker that has a bag full of cash. Goto, Yakumo, and Haruka find the other key is to a warehouse where they eventually find the missing girl, Rumi. The girl claims Ando had not been violent with her, and the belongings of the deceased girls are also found at the same warehouse. Goto holds Ando responsible for all the murder kidnappings. The forensic scientist compares pictures of all the victims and asks for Yakumo's opinion, as they all look strangely peaceful. Haruka has gone to thank Dr. Kinoshita for his insight when he asks the mysterious woman who has been working with him to kidnap her because she seemed to be a suitable vessel for his daughter. Yakumo calls Haruka and the woman answers, telling him his friend will die and providing no details but a location. Yakumo realizes that it is the doctor and not Ando, as they had previously assumed, who is the mastermind behind this. Yakumo and Goto reach the location and see Dr. Kinoshita throw Haruka over the ledge into the water with a heavy rock tied to her foot. Yakumo jumps into the water after her and rescues her. The doctor is arrested and confesses the man with the two red eyes and a woman told him his daughter could be reborn. He says the story about Ando being his junior was a lie and he was just recruited to abduct girls. However, when he threatened the doctor about going to the police, he killed him. Yakumo explains the girls look peaceful because Ayaka did in fact enter their bodies when they were dying, not so she could come back to life, but just so she could take their suffering and pain away, and Haruka confirms this, saying she felt Ayaka enter her body too. Dr. Kinoshita feels guilty for making his daughter feel the pain of death over and over again. Ando leaves Hijikata's body when he sees this state of the man who killed him. Yakumo does not want to accept the fact that the man with the two red eyes is his father. A boy, Shota Date, who goes to their university, has recently shifted into a new apartment and is being haunted by ghosts. Ishi is still frightened of Hijikata since the time she was possessed by Ando's spirit. Haruka's friends tease her about liking Yakumo. Haruka has heard of Shoba's problem and goes to Yakumo to solve it, and he agrees. He suspects the owner already knows about it, which is why the rent is so low, and goes to meet the owner. He tells them of how he had discovered the body of a girl, Kimiko Shiobara, in the apartments the previous year. She had died of illness, and her relatives confirmed she had a pre-existing condition, a weakness of the internal organs. Yakumo wishes to learn more about her, so he and Haruka go to the Setamachi Municipal Library where she worked. They encountered her co-worker, who said she was too upright. On their way back to the unit, Haruka and Yakumo meet Hijikata and Ishi, who invite Haruka for dinner, but she refuses and runs after Yakumo. At the apartment, Yakumo observes the full-length mirrors in every room and figures out that it was Kimi who put them up. She was known to be uptight and not care about fashion, so her need for these mirrors is unclear. He sees her spirit in the mirror and finds an envelope behind it, which she wishes to be burnt without anyone discovering its contents. Haruka opens the envelope right before they are about to burn it and finds a picture of Kimiko, all dressed up. She realizes she was the one who had put up those mirrors, as she wanted to be pretty for her own sake and not receive compliments. They proceed to burn the picture, and Kimiko is at peace. Thank you so much for watching and staying until the end. You've been fantastic. Bye.